Have you ever wondered why pro players are able to peek almost perfectly? In this clip, Sinatraa peeks this jet almost perfectly without taking a single hit of damage. If you would like to learn how to peek like Sinatraa, stick around, because in this video we will be breaking down how Sinatraa peeks to dominate his ranked matches. If you want to peek like Sinatraa, you need to follow the rules of peeking. We will be covering the rules as we watch the full clip of this Sinatraa 4K. Let's talk about the first rule, pacing. Pacing is basically how fast you move. In the very beginning, we can see that Sinatraa used Phoenix ult, which is why he was peeking and scaling forward so quickly. With this extra life, he's able to make the sight take incredibly easy for his team. But once Sinatraa is out of his ultimate, notice how the speed of his pacing changes. He is now clearing the left side of halls carefully. After holding the left side of halls for about 2 seconds, he then goes to angle number 2, which is the back side of halls or the right side of halls. A rule to take away here is make sure that you are going slow when peeking. Whenever you rush and go incredibly fast, your angle clearing, crosshair placement, and movement gets sloppy when peeking. So if you are peeking angles faster than Sinatraa here, you are doing something wrong. You want to go at a slow and steady pace to allow your brain to process the information that is being fed. With a slower playstyle, you can expect yourself to react to enemies a lot faster since your brain isn't overstimulated. It's time to get into rule number 2, which is limiting your exposure to other angles. Now, in order to find out if you're doing this, we need to look at the guide's insight for some data on our gameplay. One indicator of exposing yourself too much is if you're getting traded a lot, which can be caused by you peeking multiple enemies at once. Let's click on the movement data on the spider chart, and this will tell us our traded frequency, labeled on insight as TR-. My score of 56 is decent, but only slightly above average, so I still need to work on getting traded less. We have now released the open beta for the guide's insight. With insight, you are able to get insanely in-depth stats about your gameplay, and the stats are interpreted for you, so you aren't left wondering what this means. You can see what your strengths and weaknesses are, easily compare your performance on various agents, and it also refers to high quality coaching videos based off of your stats depending on which ones you are struggling with the most. Click on the link below in the description to gain access to the open beta today. Now, let's talk about how Sinatraa chooses to clear these angles with some thoughts. Sinatraa is going to go through the angle checklist on the B-bomb site. This checklist are the angles that you need to peek in a given order. If we zoom out and look at a map of the B-bomb site on Pearl, what would be the angles we'd need to clear and in what order? Well, here is the answer to that question. Whenever you are clearing the B-bomb site on Pearl, keep this in mind. We have 7 angles that need to be cleared. When peeking these angles, expect an enemy to be there so you can react quickly as soon as you see the enemy on your screen. If your focus is not there, then you will react slower than a snail. So to save yourself some embarrassment, before peeking into an angle, give yourself a second to mentally prepare, then peek with full aggression. As Sinatraa is clearing these angles, I want you to notice how he is not exposing himself to any additional angles that he has not yet cleared. Sinatraa clears angle 1, does not see an enemy, and 2 seconds later moves on to angle 2. We can say that Sinatraa is exposing himself to angle 1 as he is peeking angle 2, but this should not be a concern since Sinatraa has already cleared angle 1. Do not worry about the angles you have already cleared, since if we allow this to occupy our mind, we will never be able to advance. And plus, he has a teammate there to check his back on angle 1. But luckily for Sinatraa's high awareness, the enemy jet was peeking and not the hidden enemy position in angle 1. Sinatraa knew that these 2 enemies were playing a contact trade setup since enemy 1 did not reveal himself, so he immediately after tagging the jet falls back to watch angle 1, expecting for the enemy to swing. To understand rule number 3, on the 2 eliminations Sinatraa got in halls, what do you notice about Sinatraa's mechanics? Well, I can tell you that he is always aiming at head height, which if it's not a habit for you to do so yet, it needs to be. But also notice this, when Sinatraa expects the enemy to be further away from the angle that he is peeking, he will place his crosshair in the wall, pre-aiming the enemy he is about to swing. You want to do the opposite when an enemy is closer to the angle that you are peeking, just like he did with the elimination onto the enemy Killjoy. This is due to perspectives. If the enemy is closer to the angle, we will see them first. So you need to keep your crosshair on the edge of the angle that you are peeking and be ready to shoot as soon as we see the enemy. On the enemy jet, Sinatraa peeked this enemy perfectly since this angle here is what Sinatraa is peeking. Since he is closer to the contact angle, Sinatraa pre-aims the enemy jet to bring this fight a bit more into his favor. Now, if we rewind a bit and watch this clip back again, what else do you notice about Sinatraa's mechanics, specifically his movement mechanics? Sinatraa is only peeking with A and D keys. He is not pressing W at any point when peeking angles in this entire clip. So many of you may say, oh, I knew this, but yet you still do this in your games, which is why you are so easy to kill. This is you when you are peeking perfectly with A and D. This is you when you are peeking poorly while pressing W. Do you see the difference? So in order to make this into a habit, only allow yourself to peek with A and D. Before you swing out to peek, make sure to position your body so you can only peek out with A and D while keeping the threat in front of you. The best way to make this into a habit for us is to go into a custom games and practice your movements throughout the map as you see here in this training example. Before peeking anything, make sure to take a quick second to line yourself up. Know the angle that you are peeking and then swing. You can always practice this in either deathmatch or team deathmatch, but this needs to be on your mind at all times until it becomes a habit. Sinatraa is an amazing player, and when you break down even one round, you can see how much practice and finesse is behind his decisions. Peeking is an incredible skill to have when ranking up, but in order to peek perfectly, you will need crisp movement as well. If you want to improve your movement skills, watch our Iridium Pro Fix My Movement video next. I will see you all there, and well, deuce everyone.